Emilia woke to the faint hum of Paris in the early morning, the city stirring slowly as sunlight spilled over the rooftops and into her small apartment. The gentle aroma of fresh croissants from the bakery below mingled with the distant scent of espresso drifting from nearby cafés. Yesterday had been a whirlwind, office chaos, a tiny victory, and an unexpected spark with Gabrielle. And now, as she stretched and sipped her morning coffee, she realized that Paris was far from done with her. Her phone buzzed with a message from May. "Morning, superstar! Breakfast at Le Petit Café in 10. You need a survival briefing for day 2. Emilia chuckled. May's boundless energy and insight were already becoming a lifeline in this city of glittering facades and subtle social traps. By the time she reached the café, May was already seated, a hot cappuccino in one hand and a flaky croissant in the other. "You look like you survived the first day," May said brightly, "and you didn't even cry in front of Sylvie." "I'm counting that as a win," Emilia replied, smiling as she joined her. She scanned the bustling café, savoring the sound of French chatter, clinking cutlery, and the occasional laugh of an animated local. Paris thrummed with life, and Emilia felt simultaneously small and exhilarated. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden figure at the corner of the café, a delivery boy dropping a bag of groceries, nearly colliding with Emilia. She steadied him, and when she looked up, she realized it was Gabriel. The moment was brief, electric, but unspoken. His eyes held a spark of amusement, as if yesterday's shared chaos had not been forgotten. Emilia's heart skipped a beat, and she quickly turned back to May, pretending nothing had happened. The walk to Savoir was a mixture of excitement and dread. Emilia was determined to prove herself today, but the stakes felt higher than ever. She passed familiar streets, noticing details she hadn't before. The tiny flower shop tucked between 2 larger buildings, a street artist painting a vivid mural of the Eiffel Tower. The wave of morning light played off the river's surface. Paris was alive, teasing and watching, as though it wanted to see how she would navigate the day. Arriving at Savoir, Emilia was met with the familiar hum of the office. Luc and Julien were already at their desks, exchanging glances that bordered on mockery. Sylvie, as always, appeared at the edge of the room, poised, exacting, and perfectly in control. Today, she seemed particularly focused, her gaze cutting across the room as if measuring every nuance of Emilia's posture, every flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. The morning was a series of micro-challenges, emails demanding immediate attention, client requests that required delicate negotiation, and subtle office politics that tested Emilia's social instincts. And then came Camille. She appeared at Emilia's desk, portfolio in hand, with a warm but calculated smile. "I thought you might want to collaborate on this morning's briefing," Camille said. "It's delicate work." Emilia nodded, swallowing a flicker of anxiety. She knew Camille's charm masked subtle competition, yet she also realized that learning from her would be essential. Together, they reviewed the materials, exchanging polite conversation, undercurrents of rivalry and curiosity flowing just beneath the surface. By mid-morning, the first test of the day arrived. A last-minute client email demanded a creative adjustment that was tricky, even for seasoned marketers. Emilia's mind raced, considering the campaign's objectives, the client's personality, and Gabriel's earlier suggestions. She drafted a bold, clever idea and hesitated for a heartbeat before sending it off. Gabriel appeared beside her desk just as she hit send. "You took a risk," he said quietly. "It might pay off, or it might fail spectacularly. Either way, well done." His smile lingered, and Emilia felt her chest tighten. The remainder of the morning was punctuated by subtle victories and minor disasters. Luke attempted a sly critique. Emilia navigated it with grace, and Sylvie's approving nod, small but deliberate, confirmed that she was earning a foothold in this complex world. Lunch brought a moment of reprieve. Emilia and May ventured to a hidden garden café, tucked behind tall hedges and wrought iron gates. The air was fragrant with blooming flowers, sunlight filtering through leaves to dance on the cobblestones. They sat with fresh baguettes and pastries, sipping espresso, and shared laughter that allowed Emilia to breathe. "You're learning fast," May said. "Paris is testing you, yes, but you're rising to it. Just remember, it's not just about surviving work. It's about navigating the people, the charm, and sometimes the danger of your own heart." Emilia smiled, understanding perfectly. Gabriel was on her mind more than she wanted, and Camille's presence lingered like a shadow over the edges of her confidence. She was realizing that the Siki wasn't just teaching her professional lessons, it was teaching her about herself, her instincts, and her desires. As Act 1 closed, Emilia returned to the office, heart pounding with anticipation for the afternoon's brainstorming session. The city outside glowed with early evening light, the Eiffel Tower faintly visible in the distance, and she felt both terrified and exhilarated. She was stepping into a world of ambition, romance, and intrigue, and she knew that every decision, every glance, and every word mattered. Paris was alive, vibrant, unpredictable, and she was ready to dive in, one exhilarating, chaotic moment at a time. The office buzzed with energy, papers shuffling, phones ringing, and the quiet hum of strategy meetings in full swing. Emilia arrived at her desk, determined to seize the day. The campaign she was leading was high stakes, and she could feel the weight of Sylvie's expectations pressing down, like a sculptor shaping clay. Every word, every decision mattered. Luc and Julien were already casting sidelong glances, whispering quietly in French. And Emilia's ears perked up despite herself. She caught only fragments, but the tone was unmistakable. Skepticism, amusement, a touch of condescension. She smiled politely, letting her fingers fly across the keyboard, her mind racing to stay 2 steps ahead. The morning was punctuated by a series of small crises, emails demanding immediate action, last-minute client edits, and subtle office politics that seemed designed to test her patience and intuition. Then came Camille, appearing at her desk with an unreadable expression. "Emilia, I thought you might want to see Gabriel's latest draft," she said, placing the portfolio gently before her. "It's delicate. Handle it carefully." Emilia nodded. As she worked, Gabriel approached her quietly, carrying a small espresso cup. "Thought you could use this," he said, sliding it across the desk. Their fingers brushed briefly, sending an electric jolt through Emilia. She felt heat rise to her cheeks, yet she tried to focus on the task at hand. The first client meeting of the day arrived, and Emilia stepped into the conference room, heart pounding. Sylvie, Luc, Julien, and a few other senior staff members were already there, reviewing their notes with sharp, discerning eyes. Camille stood near Gabriel, poised and composed, and Emilia felt the weight of their combined scrutiny. "Good morning, everyone," she began, her voice steady despite the flutter in her chest. "I've reviewed the client's needs, and I have a proposal that I believe aligns with their brand vision while introducing a fresh, innovative approach." She clicked through the slides, her fingers trembling slightly. Each visual was carefully designed, each word chosen to convey confidence and creativity. Gabriel interjected at just the right moment, offering subtle support. Camille's raised eyebrows hinted at cautious approval, though Emilia could feel the undercurrent of rivalry. The meeting unfolded like a delicate dance, each participant maneuvering between strategy and subtle power plays. Emilia navigated it with grace, her confidence growing with every nod and small smile of approval. After the meeting, she returned to her desk, feeling both exhilarated and drained. May appeared, carrying a small pastry from a nearby bakery. "Victory tastes sweet," she said, nudging Emilia gently. "And Paris is watching. How does it feel to be noticed?" Emilia smiled, sipping her coffee. The day's challenges had tested her wit, charm, and creativity, and for the first time, she felt she was gaining a foothold in this complex world. Yet, she knew that Paris would not be so easily tamed. Gabriel's presence lingered in her mind, like a melody she could not forget, and Camille's subtle scrutiny was a constant reminder of the delicate balance she had to maintain. The afternoon brought a cultural twist. A French client insisted on an impromptu photo shoot at a local art gallery, an opportunity Emilia had never anticipated. She navigated the gallery with a mixture of excitement and trepidation, directing models, adjusting lighting, and negotiating with the client's exacting standards. Gabrielle was there, assisting with a calm, reassuring presence, while Camille observed from a corner, her eyes calculating every move. By evening, Emilia returned to her apartment, exhausted yet energized. She perched on the small balcony, gazing at the Seine as the city lights reflected off the water. Gabrielle's smile earlier that day, Camille's subtle challenge, Sylvie's exacting gaze, all of it swirled together in her mind. Paris was teaching her not just about work, but about life, ambition, romance, and the delicate art of navigating hearts and egos alike. She sent a quick message to May. Day 2 survived, barely. May's reply came instantly. "Barely? You're thriving! Don't underestimate your charm." Emilia laughed softly, letting the sound mingle with the Parisian evening. The city was alive, unpredictable, and intoxicating, and she was learning to move within it. The office battles, the romantic sparks, the cultural lessons, they were all shaping her into someone stronger, braver, more alive. And as she closed her laptop and leaned back, she realized that Paris had begun to seduce her, not just with its beauty, but with its endless possibilities, challenges, and the electric, complicated allure of the people who inhabited it. The late afternoon sunlight poured through the tall office windows, casting warm patterns on the polished floors of savoir. Emilia sat at her desk, reviewing campaign notes for the umpteenth time. Yet her mind was elsewhere. Gabrielle's earlier smiles, subtle glances, and moments of quiet attention kept surfacing in her thoughts, making her pulse quicken. She tried to focus, but the gentle hum of the office, the click of keyboards, and the soft murmur of conversations seemed to amplify every flutter in her chest. Camille appeared at the doorway, radiant in her tailored coat, holding yet another portfolio. "Emilia," she said sweetly, "Gabrielle and I thought it might help to review your visual mock-ups before tomorrow's presentation. It's delicate work." Emilia swallowed, aware of the tension in Camille's tone. This was more than a collaborative gesture. It was a subtle test. She nodded, masking the nervous excitement behind professional composure. Together they reviewed the visuals. Camille's observations were meticulous, precise, and undeniably sharp. Gabriel contributed with understated elegance, offering thoughtful suggestions without overshadowing Emilia. Each glance between them carried unspoken messages, and Emilia felt herself caught in a triangle of attraction, rivalry, and intrigue she hadn't anticipated. The afternoon's challenges escalated when a client called unexpectedly, demanding last-minute adjustments to a crucial post. Emilia took a deep breath, considering the campaign objectives, Gabrielle's earlier input, and Camille's meticulous notes. With careful precision, she proposed the bold, creative solution that balanced strategy with innovation. Gabrielle's approving nod from across the room gave her a surge of confidence, while Camille's raised eyebrows suggested intrigue, or perhaps cautious admiration. During a brief coffee break, Emilia stepped onto the balcony, letting the city air wash over her. The Eiffel Tower glimmered in the distance, and the Seine reflected the golden glow of the afternoon sun. May's voice floated in her memory. "Paris, il vous testera, confusé, et peut-être vous séduira." She realized that the test wasn't just professional, it was personal. The subtle tension between Gabrielle et Camille, the expectations of Sylvie, and her own feelings created a web that required grace, intelligence, et courage. Gabrielle apparut quiettement at le balcony holding a cup of espresso. "You've been working hard," he said softly. "Don't forget to breathe." Their fingers brushed as he handed her the cup, and Emilia felt a current of warmth, a fleeting intimacy that lingered in the space between them. She looked into his eyes, searching for meaning, but found only a calm reassurance mixed with a hint of challenge. Just as she was about to speak, Camille appeared on the balcony, her presence like a sharp, cool breeze. "I thought you might need some company," she said, smiling sweetly. Her gaze flicked between Emilia and Gabriel, a subtle, almost imperceptible warning in her eyes. Emilia felt a rush of adrenaline. Camille's charm was calculated, deliberate, and undeniably formidable. The evening unfolded in a mixture of subtle tensions and quiet victories. Emilia navigated conversations with skill, responding to challenges from colleagues, clients, and the intricate social dance between Gabriel and Camille. Each interaction was a lesson, a delicate negotiation of words, expressions, and glances. As night fell, the office emptied slowly. Emilia lingered at her desk, reviewing notes and sending final emails. Gabriel approached one last time, his presence quiet but undeniable. "Tomorrow," he said softly, "will be another day of surprises, but I think you're ready." Emilia's chest tightened. She wanted to say more, to let him know how the moments between them had affected her. But she simply nodded, savoring the unspoken connection. Back in her apartment, Emilia stepped onto her balcony, letting the cool night air wash over her. The city shimmered below, alive with lights, music, and the soft murmur of voices drifting from cafés and streets. Camille, Sylvie, Gabrielle, all had left their mark on her day, their presence a mixture of challenge, intrigue, and subtle allure. Emilia sat quietly, reflecting on the day's lessons. Paris had tested her intellect, her courage, and her heart. She had navigated office politics, stood her ground in professional debates, and discovered the first sparks of something deeper with Gabriel. The city had begun to teach her that survival was not enough. She had to thrive, adapt, and sometimes trust her instincts. A message buzzed on her phone. "May, you did well. Don't let the intrigue distract you." As the night deepened, Emilia leaned back against the balcony railing, gazing at the Eiffel Tower glowing softly against the dark sky. She had faced the day's challenges, navigated romance and rivalry, and survived the subtle storms of office politics. Yet she knew tomorrow would bring new tests, new sparks, and new surprises. Paris had begun to seduce her, and she was powerless, but willing to resist it. The sea was bathed in golden twilight, the rooftops of Paris glowing as the sun dipped toward the horizon. Emilia sat at her desk, exhausted but exhilarated, her mind replaying every moment of the day. The office had been a battlefield of ideas, charm, and subtle manipulation, and she had survived it all. Yet, she felt the familiar flutter in her chest whenever Gabriel's dark eyes had met hers, a spark that lingered despite the presence of Camille's polished, calculating gaze. A sudden knock at her office door drew her attention. It was Emilia, smiled nervously, taking the cup. "I'm learning," she admitted. Their conversation was interrupted by Camille, who appeared with a portfolio tucked under her arm. Her smile was flawless, polite, yet her eyes betrayed a subtle challenge. "Emilia, I thought you might want to review these designs before tomorrow. I trust you'll find them inspiring." The tension between the three of them was almost tangible, a delicate triangle of attraction, rivalry, and ambition. Emilia felt herself balancing on the edge of something thrilling yet precarious, knowing that every glance, word, and gesture mattered. As the evening deepened, Emilia found herself on the balcony, staring out at the sparkling city. Paris was alive with music, lights, and the distant hum of cafés, but it was also a city that demanded courage, wit, and heart. She thought of Gabrielle, Camille, and Sylvie, of May's playful warnings, and realized that the city was shaping her in ways she had never anticipated. A buzz on her phone made her jump slightly. It was a message from Gabriel. "Meet me at the bridge near your apartment. There's something I want to show you." Emilia's stomach fluttered. The city had already tested her intellect, her charm, and her courage. Now it was testing her heart. She grabbed her coat and hurried to the bridge. Gabriel was there, leaning casually against the railing. the Seine shimmering beneath him. He smiled, and for a moment, the chaos of the office, the rivalry with Camille, and the pressure from Sylvie faded. "I wanted to show you something," he said, pointing to the river, where the lights reflected like molten gold. "Paris looks different when you really take it in. You have to let yourself see it." Emilia watched the reflection ripple across the water, feeling an unexpected calm. She realized that, despite the chaos and intrigue, there was beauty in the unpredictability of this city, and in the connections she was beginning to forge. Before she could respond, Camille's voice called from the bridge's far end. She approached with that perfect, poised smile, holding a notebook. "I didn't mean to interrupt," she said smoothly. "I just thought you might want to hear about a new idea for tomorrow's pitch." Emilia's heart raced. The romantic tension, professional stakes, and subtle rivalries all collided in this single charged moment. Gabriel glanced at Camille briefly, then back at Emilia, a silent reassurance in his gaze. As they walked back toward the office together, Emilia realized she had survived not only the challenges of the day, but also the emotional currents swirling around her. Paris had tested her wit, her creativity, her courage, and her heart, and she had navigated it all, with small victories and lessons learned. That night, as Emilia returned to her apartment, she paused on the balcony once more. The Eiffel Tower twinkled against the deep blue sky, the city alive and endlessly complex. Her phone buzzed again. May's message. "Day 2 conquered. Rest because tomorrow Paris will demand more." Emilia smiled, letting the warmth of the city wash over her. The thrill, the tension, the romance, and the challenges had only just begun. Paris had welcomed her with its beauty and its chaos, and she was ready to dive even deeper. A final text arrived, this one from Gabrielle. "Sleep well. Tomorrow is going to be unforgettable." Emilia's lips curved into a small, knowing smile. She closed her eyes, feeling the city pulse around her, the promise of adventure, romance, and intrigue humming in her veins. And somewhere in the distance, Camille's faint, calculating laugh seemed to echo through the streets, a reminder that Paris was never simple, and that Emilia's journey had only just begun.